Virgo Sun and Rising. Welcome to your May 2022 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So right off the bat, we're going to see this Aries energy enter some of the personal planets. The Sun has come and gone in this sign. Now the Sun is in fellow Earth sign Taurus, but we're getting Venus into Aries on the 2nd of the month. For the sign of Virgo, Aries is your 8th house, which is Scorpio's domain. And so it's a very intense area of life. It's all about the shadow. It's all about what lies beneath the surface. And it's no wonder why the 8th house is associated with esoteric studies, metaphysics, the occult, because it is something that is not necessarily what the mainstream will gravitate towards. The shadow work that's associated with the 8th house can be in the form of spiritual exploration, but also psychotherapy can be associated with this area. The theme is transformation, and death is the ultimate transformer. I think we would all agree. But not just physical death, the death of the old self, the old belief patterns. All of these themes can play out, and even money issues can be part of the 8th house, because this is the area of shared finances. So maybe with other family members, with a spouse, or, money that you receive that you did not earn. So through inheritances, through loans, and that kind of thing. So this is something that could come into play with Venus entering this house on the 2nd. This could be some money that has those possible descriptions. Another thing I have to mention about the 8th house, it's the house of intimacy. So people naturally assume I'm talking about sex, and while sex can be a part of that, there is also the possibility of anything related to emotional connection at a deep level with somebody else. So the two benefics, Venus on the 2nd and Jupiter on the 10th, entering your 8th house, could definitely have a monetary connection. Both of these planets can be associated with money. If this is not connected to money, this might be some issue that is connected to lucking out when finding a healer of some sort, whether it's a therapist, like a psychotherapist, or a Reiki master. Also, studies with Jupiter in this area are going to be featured. Now, Jupiter is going to go back into Pisces later this year. So it will go back into that 7th house of committed partnership. And again, those two houses can be connected for people who are looking to really deep dive in their relationship. The 7th house is very much like this, to me, the status of a relationship. The wedding ring, the marital contract, but not necessarily the intimacy, which is on the emotional level. The 8th house being a water house, it can be that. But I mean, there could be some inheritance that is coming in for certain people in the first 2 weeks of the month. Mercury goes retrograde on the same day that Jupiter goes into Aries, interestingly enough. So, Mercury is your ruler, Virgo, so that might make this particular transit more important or impactful for you. In your particular case, Gemini is your 10th house of career. So a Mercury retrograde here can certainly be a significant rethinking of something going on with what you have chosen as your career. You may be wondering if you made the right choice, or if you know that you did for a certain season in your life, you're thinking about, okay, what do I do next? There could be a misunderstanding with somebody in a position of authority. So just letting you know this in advance so you can be very mindful of that. It's important to note that this is a general reading, so some of these transits may not fall in the houses that I'm claiming they will, because the individual chart is the ultimate indicator of what your house placements are and where the transits will go in certain time frame. So on the 16th, there will be a lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Scorpio. And that is a big deal, okay, because that's a lunar eclipse is very powerful full moon. And for Virgo, this is occurring in your 3rd house of the mind, a house that Mercury rules under the sign of Gemini. So for Virgos, this could be a major aha moment. Now you have Mercury retrograding in that 10th house. So this is coming a little, just a day short of, 10 days later. No, I'm sorry, 6 days later from the Mercury retrograde. And it's important to note that the eclipses don't necessarily fall. They're not necessarily going to impact you on that particular date. It could be a month before, it could be several months afterwards. And sorry if I seem spaced out. I had like 2 hours of sleep, so that'll do it to a person. Yeah, so this is going to impact you in the fall as well, or I should say October for people down under. There's going to be a solar eclipse in this same 3rd house. So this is an important house for you in 2022 in terms of being triggered. This can be related to any kind of, to me, writer's block, where you're able to start to flow more with your communication altogether. And this may give you some wonderful downloads. On the 20th, the sun goes into Gemini. So the sun is in that career sector. And that is, very good for all of this stuff. Actually, Virgo, you're going to have some very significant developments with career. Well, I should never say you are going to, but you could, because Mars is going retrograde in Gemini. I can't remember. I think it's October 28th. I can't remember, but it's slowing down as it approaches the actual retrograde period. And I'll tell you, it's staying in Gemini for so long that this could have a major impact on things. You may feel this sense of, frustration, almost like you can't do certain things. But once you get started, you're not going to stop. So even if you find that things slow down ambition-wise for you for some reason, it's just having you make sure that as you go forward that you're really wanting to do this. So this Mercury retrograde in the same sign and same house is kind of a precursor to that. Precursor, not precursor. And so it's getting the ball rolling. And then you will be able to already kind of hash it out in your mind. And so when the Mars retrograde happens, you will be much less likely to feel this sense of, I don't know, I was going to say oppression, but that's a little bit extreme. It's more like this feeling of being at a standstill and not being able to, make something happen. And really you can. It's just that you might have to kind of allow it to come in its own time. Mars can be your drive. And people can't always be go, go, go. They sometimes have to reflect. They have to kind of take a step back and see where they're at. And that's just how it goes. On the 22nd, the retrograding Mercury now is back in Taurus, so it's back in that 9th house. And that's another thing, too. If you have been traveling or wanting to travel for work, this could have been an issue for you. And maybe in the middle of June, that will get sorted out because Mercury's going direct on June 3rd in that 9th house. And that can be anything from like your passport being expired and having to wait for a new one, or just sometimes it could be just very little things, or if this is connected with some business venture that has been delayed, the launch or whatever. But that can get sorted out in June. And Mars goes into Aries on the 24th. So Mars is going into that 8th house. Well, we know what Mars is like. Mars is kind of combative. So if there is some money that is either part of a family or part of a marriage that is dissolving, that can bring up some combative issues, and that might lead to some kind of fight. And of course, every individual has a choice whether they choose to go down that road or not. Even if other people around you are doing it, you can stay above the fray. You can choose not to sully yourself. But sometimes there might be reasons why you have to do it, because somebody else is taking advantage. And even if you don't feel that sense of greed, you might do it for the idea behind it rather than the actual money itself. Or you may feel like you are deserving of the money. On the 28th, Venus goes into Taurus. So now you have Venus going into this 9th house, and money is available perhaps for people who want to travel abroad. This could be a love interest that lives in another country, or if you're already traveling, that you meet somebody of interest. You may be enjoying a long distance journey, really taking it all in, eating the local foods, seeing the art in the museums, and just enjoying things like that. On the 30th, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Gemini. This is in that 10th house of career. The only caveat is that this is during the Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is not in Gemini anymore either. It's actually in Taurus. So all of the new beginnings, You can set intentions. You don't necessarily have to act on them. I mentioned that there was an astrologer that I remember that I had been subscribed to, and this person launched their new website during a Mercury retrograde. So letting you know that even astrologers kind of defy the odds. And there may have been some higher reason for that pertain to that person's natal chart that would override such a thing. So I don't want to imply that a Mercury retrograde, if you want to do something new with your career, that's up to you if you feel really called to do so. But I do think that the Mercury retrograde was at 4 degrees of Gemini, so it really was close to this new moon, so that information is still going to come in June when Mercury gets to that 4th degree, and then especially towards the degree of the new moon. So new directions in career, new careers altogether, new attitudes towards career, because the Mercury retrograde is making you rethink some certain things. So that's what I have for you, Taurus. Taurus. Oh, that's what I have for you, Virgo. I'm sorry. It's a little sleep. I hope that you resonated with this. If you would like a private reading, where I try to be more wide awake when I do those kinds of readings, I'm promoting my double reading, which is the deep dive. I have a whole enchilada double reading too, for people who like astrology and a tarot reading. It's a full-length chart analysis with a full-length tarot reading for a special price. Then I have my deep dive reading, which is a double chart reading. Chart analysis for 1 hour and natal or transits for the next 12 months. That can be very impactful. You can find out, and that's called my deep dive. You can find out more about all of the readings that I offer at the link below. Take care. Bye.